Hello and welcome back everyone to Master Game Design, Unreal Engine 5 Stylized Environment and Third Person Blueprint course. In the last lesson we left ourselves off with a nicer foundation for the overall landscape, and now we're going to continue on with this and actually get ourselves a much nicer type of a result just simply with using some nice foliage from within Unreal Engine Market. So for us to do that, we're going to go outside of the Unreal Engine itself. So you can not only get yourself some assets from Quixel Bridge, you can also get some from the library, from the marketplace itself. And we're going to go and make use out of the certain free assets that the market provides. We're going to go on to the Epic Games Launcher and select Marketplace like so. And basically, Unreal Engine ends up buying a lot of assets that they turn it into permanently free or free for a week. So you can see them over here in this tab, in this area like so. So not free for a week, free for a month. So I recommend you checking them out. But the ones that we're going to use are going to be permanently free. We're going to go ahead and search for Tropic Foliage, and then we're going to go scroll all the way down, or actually in this case we're going to change the max price to free, and there we go. We're going to make use out of this one over here, Tropical Vegetation Pandanus, or I'm not sure how to spell that out. Going to go ahead and open this up, and all you gotta do is just select add to cart, and then since it's free it's going to just put you in your project essentially. And yeah, once you're able to download it, you're able to then add it to the project. If you're not seeing this, you can also go through the library and you can just search it within your vault over here. If you were to search for Tropic, you should be able to find the same Tropic Vegetation. So I'm going to go ahead and click add the project and find the one that we're using. So that's going to be Unreal Engine 5 Harbor that we had, which is not showing up here, and I believe it's because it's not been updated to a version 5.2, or basically in order for us to make use out of it, we're going to click on show all projects like so, and that's the one we're looking for. That's the one we need. Again, it's going to say that it's not compatible, but that's all right. We can always just change it to a version of 5.1, and that's going to work out just as well. Let's go ahead and click add to project. Going to then download it, initialize it, and all that good stuff. And then afterwards, once you go back onto your project, you're going to find yourself with an extra folder. So that folder is going to be a folder called Pandanus. Let's go ahead and go into it. We're going to then find a couple of settings. The ones that we're looking for are going to be basically in the meshes. We're going to go ahead and get ourselves, we got basically two type of variations. We got the pandanus, or we got the tree plants themselves. So these ones are like the smaller ones. We're going to make use out of all of them basically. So for us, the easiest way would be to just set it up within the foliage factor itself. We're going to go onto the meshes for this. We're going to go to filters and set it up with static meshes. So we'll be able to see all of them like so. Then we're going to go and open ourselves up with a foliage mode over here. And we're going to drag this entire section of all of our static meshes into where it says drop the foliage here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to select all of them like so, holding shift. We can just select it like that. We're going to then drag and drop it like so, and then it's going to ask for creating a foliage actor basically. We're going to go ahead and click save for every single one of them. We're going to automatically save it all out. Just like that. And once we're done with it all, which it honestly takes quite a while, there you go. We got ourselves with a nice setup. Once we're done with importing all of the meshes, I recommend you just turning off the content browser. And as a quick reminder, you can press Control and Space to bring that up. And if you want, you can dock it into your layout to get it back in. But the reason I'm doing it is mainly because we wouldn't be able to see this entire tab. It's set up in a bit of a tedious way, to be honest, because once we click on one of the objects, you can see that we have some variances and whatnot to work with. And basically, we got to make sure that we set that all up. And actually, before doing that, we need to make sure that we set up the trees properly. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Pandanus. Going to go to the meshes, static meshes, select all of these meshes and basically enable nanite for them, since they're going to be quite well. Within regards to that, they're going to be more optimized. It's going to take some time to prepare everything and whatnot, but once it's done, we're going to get ourselves some nice results. I think it's still loading shaders, but I reckon it's going to be all right if we just were to continue on with that. We can now basically have it all selected. So if we look at the hover over with our mouse, we can see the ticks next to them, and those ticks represent which ones are being used within the foliage right away. If we were to tick it off, it's going to make the acid basically kind of less saturated, but it's a little bit hard to see every once in a while. So if you have like certain assets ticked off and you want to make sure that all of them are ticked on, I recommend you just selecting the last one, the first one, and just having it all just selected like that. Then you can just click on the stick and tick it back on, and then it's going to select every single one of them just like that. So by just tapping now using the paint tool over here, you can basically spawn all of them like so, and it's going to be quite a bit dense, but I like to tap it once to make sure that everything gets loaded in and prepares all the shaders properly. And once it's done loaded, we can then continue on with the work and basically make sure that everything is going to be able to be used within the settings. So let's just give it a certain weight until everything gets loaded in properly. There we go. Now the next thing that I would like to talk about is going to be the density itself. As you can see, this is way too dense. So what we can do is we can make use out of with all of these selected, because based on the selection, you're going to be changing different things. So make sure that all of these selected are selected, and there is a paint density over here. If we were to change it to 10 and tap on it again, we can see that it changes it to much better type of a look. If you want to delete it, you can hold Shift and just drag it across, and that basically changes the brush to eraser, as like that. So that's quite easy to get rid of it. Another thing that I want to say in regards to the density is going to be that density is also affected by paint density. So even if we were to keep it as 10, if I were to change this to something like 1, it's going to basically increase the density over here. So this paint density is going to be affecting everything regardless of the painting, but the painting density that's underneath is going to be able to control each of the plants individually. So for example, if I want more of this specific plant, I can increase it to 100, and the rest are still going to be at 10, but this one is going to be at 100. For the sake of this course, I'm going to keep everything at 10, and I'm going to start explaining in regards to the layout and the setup of the foliage itself. We're going to do that though in the next lesson. For now though, let's go ahead and set everything up properly, since if we were to tap on this section, you can see that some of the plants would end up going diagonally. The reason being is that some of these are based on an angle itself. So what we need to do is we need to go all the way down. We need to scroll within this section. Keep in mind that there are two bars, by the way. First one is this one over here. The second one is a bit bigger, and you need to use the second one over here like so. And just go all the way down until you find align to normal. Make sure you just have this ticked on. Now when you tap it, they're all going to be facing upwards like so properly, even if it's on the side, just like that. You can also control the ground slope angle where they're going to be placed. In regards to that, if they're going to not be placed into a certain, for example, well, these are dunes, so they're going to be placed pretty much everywhere, maybe over here. If I were to click it, they're still going to be placed. Maybe it's hard to see, but in this area, they're not going to be placed, as you can see over here, because the slope is a little bit too high. So you can either increase this or maybe decrease it even to have a much nicer control over the slope of an angle where they're going to be placed. For this sake, we're not going to be touching that actually. We might even decrease it to a value of 35 just by 10 degrees, so we get these kind of natural breakings like so over here. That's going to be quite nice. The next thing that we need to talk about is going to be a random pitch angle. Random yaw is the rotation. Basically, it rotates the trees randomly all around itself. But yaw is going to be basically the angle of where the tree is going to be set up. If I were to change it to something like 50, that would be an extreme value. And you can see certain trees to be just completely laying almost sideways like so. So it might look like a nice stormy kind of a post-storm type of a look. But personally, I just like to increase it to a value of 5, and that seems to do the trick in regards to making it look a little bit more natural when it comes to the trees. So that's that. And another thing that we should be talking about is going to be, if we're to be just going up a little bit or down, there you go, there's going to be collision presets. If we're talking about the player itself and we want the player to be walking around, when it's set with no collisions, you're going to be able to walk past them. So if you're considering about having some trees with this on, make sure to just enable block all, and that will allow your character to just be blocked simply by the trees. Although it would be a bit more performance heavy, so just keep that in mind. So yeah, with all that said and done, in the next lesson we're going to continue on and talk a little bit in regards on how to make use out of the foliage to get a nicer look overall for this island. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you.